Hi, everyone, and welcome to the MMA-Zing.com interview series. Be sure to visit our site for all your MMA and UFC content needs. Also, please be sure to give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and like us on YouTube. Today, we have a very special treat. We're going to be joined by MMA fighter DeAnna Bennett. DeAnna, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to talk to you here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. DeAnna, could you go ahead and tell us where your fans can find you on social media?
Yes, I made it really easy on Twitter, Instagram, and even Facebook. It's Deanna D, middle initial D, Bennett. So Deanna D Bennett. There's lots of awkward things you can follow on there. All fun.
Sounds great. So you heard it. Be sure to go give DeAnna a follow on Twitter and Instagram. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Um, DeAnna, in 2012, you made your professional debut, defeating Andrea Miller via TKO in the first round of Showdown Fight 6. Go ahead and explain the feeling, how it felt to fight for a smaller promotion rather than a bigger promotion such as Invicta FC.
Oh man, I remember my first pro fight clear as day. Showdown Fights was the show that actually my gym at the time, the Pit Elevated, it was owned by the same person. And, it was actually the biggest one in Utah. And so, I remember getting in there in the cage in front of my friends, in front of my family and everything. And it was, a little less pressure. I was just like, all right, I trained really hard for this. This is going to be good. The only reason I went pro, I only had two amateur fights. And so going pro, it's actually Court McGee's fault that I went pro because they couldn't find me an amateur fight. And the promoter's like, well, you can go pro or you can and fight, or you can stay amateur and not fight. And he rounded the corner. He's like, you're going pro. And so I was like, all right, so I'm going pro. So I had a little anxiety with that. Okay, I'm going pro. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. And then, getting in there, I was just like, oh, no, this is fun. And I remember she hit me clean with a throat punch. And I was like, oh, heck no. Like, how ghetto do you have to be to throat punch a person? So I'm like, I'm going to take you down and I'm going to elbow you. And I did, and she was really cool. So she wasn't ghetto at all. But I was just remember that throat punch clear as day. I was like, did you really just throat punch me? I'm like, that's not going to go well for you in the end.
All right. So you were featured on the Ultimate Fighter 26, which helped open up the women's flyweight division. How does it feel knowing that you helped pioneer that division in UFC?
It's great. I took my hand at strawweight for a few fights, but flyweight is has always been my home. I've had more fights at flyweight than any other weight class, and I'm glad to be back in that division now and to be part of something that was crowning the very first flyweight champion for the UFC. It was an amazing experience. The Ultimate Fighter itself would have been a great experience, but to be with the top of the division, the ones that with Nico in the house that won the title in the end, and all these awesome, awesome females in the sport. It meant a lot to me, and I loved it. My experience there was so positive, and it helped me to really think about the next steps that I wanted to take in my career and in my life, and I wouldn't take it back for the world.
Cool. Cool. All right. So can you take us through your time during the tryouts, just kind of what it was like, and also like what was asked of you and your fellow competitors?
Yeah. I was actually really nervous going to the tryouts. I showed up and I'm looking around and I'm like, all right, well, there's that person and there's that person. And, I remember Barb Honchak walked in and I was like, oh my goodness, it's Barb. Oh my goodness, that's so intimidating. Like I've always wanted to fight her because she was the top of the division and, just seeing her in person, I was like, oh no, that's scary. And then I remember with the so they sit around for a long period of time, then they take you in and you do the grappling. And I remember my group for the grappling, I'm sitting with my friend Caitlin, and I'm looking across the mat, and I was just like, please, for the love of everything, do not match me up with Sajara Eubanks. I know she's a black belt. I know that she is tough, and like that would just be my luck that they would match her up with her. And I remember clear as day thinking that. I actually turned to my friend Caitlin and I told her that. And I actually have shared this story with Sarge. I was just like, please, 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 please don't make me go with her. And it's just funny, just the way that things ended up working out. Did the grappling, went good. We moved on and we did the striking portion of the tryouts. And then they cut a bunch of people. We did some interviews and got to stay a week, and it was a great experience. I got to really meet a lot of the people. I met Ariel Beck that first day of tryouts, and she love her to death, and I'm so glad that she was on the show. And it was interesting to see like people and like, all right, she's kind of scary there. I'm like, I don't know what to do with her, and now Sarge is one of my best friends, and so it's just funny kind of how that worked out.
Yeah, I can imagine. So obviously the Ultimate Fighter has a completely different feel to it than an actual training camp. So what was the best part about participating on the show?
The best part of the show was honestly, you have training without the stress of the outside world. I love it. Sometimes you have so much going on in your life, and you have outside stresses that really weigh you down when you're in a fight camp. You have to be able to balance all of that. But when you're on the show, all you have to really worry about is training and fighting and learning, and that's the only thing that you have to do. And it was great to really just have to put everything else aside and just focus on what I wanted to do. And that's what I tend to stress out. I'm a little bit of a stress ball, a little head case. It's in more ways than one. Obviously, if anyone watched my last post-fight interview, you will probably get to there. But anyways, just being able to put everything aside and just focus on that, it was just great. You fight in the same cage that you're training at every day, and it's just such a comfortable atmosphere. I loved it.
And to piggyback off that question, what was the worst part, if you care to share that?
The worst part was honestly, I just that's a hard one. Um, Trying to keep busy. I mean, we were basically in white collar prison, stuck in a mansion. Like first few days, I'm like, "Woo, I'm in a mansion," and then it's like, "Yeah, I'm in a mansion, but I can't leave," and I just don't even know what to do with myself right now. And which is a good and a bad thing. I don't really have very many negative things to say. I just talk to the voices in my own head. Shocker that there's a million of them up there, and I'm easily entertained. Like you'll ask Barb, I would sit there and I'd be staring at the lights, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "It was just so pretty. It was so bright." I'm like, "This is what happens when you can't do anything. You stare at there, you sing songs to yourself, you talk to multiple voices in your head." But other people, they missed, friends, family, that kind of outside stuff. I mean, I missed my dog, so that's something. That's the worst part. I missed my dog.
Okay, okay. Um, all right. So you started that before joining a kickboxing gym, correct?
Yes.
And then you transitioned to Muay Thai from there.
Uh-huh. I did Muay Thai for several years and loved it, but something was always missing.
So then to continue with that, is there a form of martial arts that you prefer the most?
Wrestling, honestly. I actually wrestled in high school back in California, Fremont, California, and did that for a few years. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And my senior year, it was 3 days before the women's championships or state championships for wrestling. I remember I broke my ankle in a dual meet, and I was like, okay, well, my wrestling career, it's over. I had been thinking about doing it in college, that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I broke my ankle senior year, can't show everybody what I have. It's done with. And so I love wrestling. I love grappling and everything. And I think part of my mind when I started doing jiu-jitsu finally after doing years of Muay Thai, I was like, I have this unfulfilled business. I should have won state that year. I should have been the top. This is my way of redemption, is getting into fighting and being able to do this. And so, I mean, you ask anyone, wrestling is obviously my favorite. So people are like, all right, that's boring. Stop trying to hug people. And I'm like, hey, I do what I want. I'm going to do it what I want anyway. So
That's right. You can't help what your favorite is, right?
exactly, exactly.
All right, let's talk about a different sport real quick here. You've stated that hockey is your first true love.
Yes.
Um,
Hockey is my first true love. I've been playing it basically all my life since I was 10.
Cool. Do you feel hockey's helped you in MMA in any way?
It definitely has. With there's obviously it's two completely different sports, but anytime you're in sports, you have to learn discipline. You have to learn. You have to constantly be working on your skills, and you put any sport, you have to put effort into it, and something that carries over to fighting. And the one thing that it's funny, my hockey coach back in the day would be like, "Bend your legs, DeAnna." And to this day, that's what my wrestling coach was just like, bend your legs. And I'm like, one of these days I'll get it. But, it definitely helped. And it kind of brought me around to this. And, hockey, I absolutely love it. Go Sharks. Any of the other people are totally wrong. Go Sharks.
All right, let's move on to your most recent fight. That was a split decision win against Karina Rodriguez at Invicta FC 28.
Yes.
It's always a bit of a shock when we see two 30 to 27 judges against a 27 to 30 judge. Were you surprised that the outcome of this fight was split?
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I'll be honest, and you could tell it with my face when I was like, all right, this has taken way too long. It should be very clear cut. I'm pretty sure I won. I mean, like, I could see maybe a judge or two giving one of the rounds to her, maybe the third round. I could totally get that, but I was just like, hold up. I'm like, we have 30-27s across the board, only well, two is for one and then one's for the other. And so I had this little bit of panic because I was like, I know I won this fight. Obviously there's some stuff I could have done, but I know I won. And so I'm like, I actually know the judge who ruled it the 27 to 30 for me. And I was like, I'm going to hunt you down. I know where you are. I've known you for years. Like, come on, buddy. Like, come on, buddy.
Uh, um, all right, so what do you see coming in the future? Would you like to get another shot at the UFC, or are you going to be pushing more towards Invicta FC strawweight championships?
I want to take it one step at a time. I would love to compete in the UFC again. I want to be at the top. I want to fight against the top people that's there. And if I can prove myself here in Invicta and get back to there, then that's great. But right now I'm in Invicta. I love Shannon. I love Angie. I love all the people that are with Invicta. And so I'm definitely happy to be fighting under their banner again. And so, you know, I I want to take whatever steps can get me to that Invicta belt first. It's Jennifer Maya just got called up to the UFC, and so it's vacant. And so my goal is to get that. I want a belt. I want to be at the top. I want to fight, and I want to fight soon. I had no damage in this fight, which is shocking because when I found out I was fighting in March, so this is a side note completely. For the last 3 years, I've broken my nose every March. So this is as long as I make it the next couple of days. I'm breaking the streak at 4 years. We didn't quite get there. So, anyways, that was a side note. I'm just really happy about that fact. I'm like, as long as I don't do something stupid in the next 2 days, I broke my streak. But, I want to fight whoever's going to take me to get to the top to Invicta belt, and then, if UFC calls me up, then that's great. If not, I wanna hold that Invicta belt, and I said it before. Somebody who I really respect as a really tough fighter is Vanessa Porto. She's obviously the top of the division in Invicta with Jennifer called up. And so I think me versus her would be a really good title match, personally. I think that seems reasonable to make that. And so, if possible, if not, then I'll take anyone else that's gonna get me to that point where I can fight her for the belt. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think you can definitely make it a couple more days and break that streak, personally.
Okay, I really hope so because my poor nose can't handle anymore. I'm gonna give you the tilt up and see this. Like, I got no airflow on this side, so unless I break it this way, please leave it in one piece. I got enough problems dating as it is. I don't need a nose that's hanging on its side. So,
All right, so which fight are you most proud of and why?
Um, that's a hard question. um, I could see an argument for a couple of them. One that really comes to mind is when I fought Colleen Schneider. It was my last fight in Utah before this one. I went up a weight class. I was fighting at 135. I didn't cut any weight for that fight. I and honestly, I had it in my head. I was bouncing back and forth like, "All right, this is going to be great." And then I would get the thoughts in my head like, "Oh no, this is the one that's going to break my this is the one that's gonna break my win streak." Like I was undefeated at that point, and I'm like, I know she's tough. She's been around forever. She fought in Strike Force challengers back in the day, And I remember going back and forth, and then finally, I'm standing right by the curtains to go out, and I was just like, no, this is my hometown. This is where I'm from. These are my people. This is my show. I'm gonna win. And I went out there. I took her down. She had herself as a catch wrestler. I went and I took her down and I submitted her in the first round. And I'm really proud of that. I'm like, not because I'm just super short. And I was looking up like, hello, what you doing up there? I'm gonna take you down now. Which that thought did go through my head. I was like, oh, that's a really tall woman about that. But so that there's that one, and then honestly, even though there's lots of stuff that I've already been going through my head about this last fight, about getting that I need to do better, that I should have done, that kind of stuff. You know, I really am proud of this last one just because I have been it's been an up and down experience the last couple of years, but to get that, to keep going, to get through all those difficult points, I'd be lying if I said in the last 2 years I haven't had a thought like maybe I'm over the hill, maybe I'm past my prime, maybe I'm never gonna get a win against my name again, maybe I've reached that point where I'm on the downward swing. And to go in there and to win, and especially being in my hometown against somebody who's such a good competitor like Karina, who, she was on a 3 fight win streak herself. And, it felt good to get in there. I'm like, no, I have a lot more fight in me. All those little doubts that I've had in my head, they can go away. My love for the sport and everything, it's still there. And I still have what it takes to get to the top. And I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, this is our last question, and we'll get you out of here on this one. Anything else you'd like to add for your fans?
Um, I would like to add that I love absolutely every single one of you. Um, seriously, like I said, I'm a head case. I go in my head like maybe I shouldn't do this anymore, but every little ounce of positivity that I get means the world to me, even if it's just people on Twitter asking me to belch for them, which I will. If you ask me to, I will, because if you know me, I have a belching problem. It's fine. It is what it is. But um no, I totally appreciate the sport. I see every ounce of it that comes in, and if I don't get around to responding, I'm super sorry. I know I have so much stuff that I need to send out. I have the stuff. I'm gonna send it out to you guys, I promise. I just yeah, follow me, DeAnna D Bennett. I'll try and interact as much as possible. I'm a giant weirdo, so I'm not 100% responsible for what comes out of my mouth or what I say back to you, but thank you for everything.
All right, everyone. So you heard it. Go ahead and follow DeAnna on Twitter and Instagram, especially if you want to hear her belch and interact with her in any other ways.
I got one right there for you guys.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We really, truly appreciate it. It was great chatting with you, and
Yeah.
luck as you continue your career. And
Well, thank you so much.
and I guess we'll hopefully talk to you again another time.
Yes, when I get my next fight and the next win that I get, we'll talk again. And maybe I won't be sick and all stuffed up and have a little bit more spunk to me. So we'll try. But thanks for talking to me today.
Hey, thanks for talking with us. All right, everyone. So you heard it here first. Our exclusive interview with DeAnna Bennett. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please be sure to follow MMA-Zing on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Give us a like on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be back soon with another great interview. All right.
Bye,
Talk to you
guys.
soon. Bye.